lovely people, how are you doing? I hope you are great. You are welcome back to my channel today. On today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how I will make my Christmas dress part 1. That's what I'm going to be showing you today. And I have my back measurement 15 inches, waist 32 inches, bust 37 inches, and the hip is 44. The full length I will be working with today is 42 inches. So without much ado, guys, let's hit our work table as we begin to cut. Alright guys, I folded my material by the highest measurement. So I have 37 inches for the bust measurement. So the bust measurement is the highest measurement here. So I folded by 9.25 and I added some inches to it. So I'm placing my tape measure right there because we are cutting an off shoulder. I took away 4 inches. Can you see? So 4 inches I took it away, or I took it off. So I'm placing that 4 inches on that line I made, so to get the necessary measurements. So here I want to mark the half of my round armhole, which is 8 inches. Sorry, I have 16 inches for my armhole. Divided by 2 is giving me 8. So I'm marking 8 inches right there. So I placed 4 inches on that line I made because I took 4 inches off, so I marked 8 inches. So I'm marking my under bust right here. So here I want to mark my half length, which is 16 inches, but I'm adding sewing allowance for the upper part and down part to it, so I'm marking 17.5. So instead of me to mark 16 inches, I'm marking 17.5. Can you see? So that's what I did here. So I'm taking my ruler, I'm placing it and roll the dots I made. So that's what I'm doing. I'm rolling the lines, the dot I made, connecting it. So I've done it. So I've labeled it, my bust, under bust, my bust point, my chest line, and this is my waistline, as you can see. So now I'm going to create the side seam. That's what I'm going to do right here. And I'm placing my tape measure. So as you can see that we have 37 inches for the bust measurements. So we have 15 inches for the back. So we have 16 inches for the half length. So we are going to place the quarter of the measurement. So that's what we are going to be doing right here. And don't let us forget that we are hiding 4 inches. So we are still hiding our 4 inches. So don't let us forget that. So any measurement I want to make, so I will place my 4 inches on the chest line to get the accurate measurement. So I'm placing the tape measure there for the quarter of my measurement, and here on my under bust I will do the same thing. I'm placing the quarter of my round under bust. So this is what I'm doing here. I will place it and I will add our sewing allowance, and that's so that's just it. So that's what I'm doing. On the waistline I have 32 inches and I'm placing the quarter and I'm adding allowance as well. So I'm going to connect it together, connecting them together right here. My nipple to nipple measurement is 7 inches. So it's 7 inches plus 1 inch, making 8 inches. Divided by 2 will give me 4 inches. And I'm placing 4 inches and I'm marking it. So this is what I'm doing. I'm doing it on my under bust and I'm doing it on my waist line. So I will go ahead and mark 1 inch above my bust line and 1 inch below my bust line. So that's what I want to do, and I'm going to draw a line to guide me. So this is what I'm doing here. 1 inch above my bust line and 1 inch below my bust line. So I'm measuring that 4 inches and I'm going to connect the line together. So I will do the same thing to every part of my measurements. 4 inches. So I'm checking it. So it's 4 inches. So I'm marking it like so. Alright guys, I want to connect the lines together. The 4 inches, I'm ruling the line all the way from the chest line to the waist line. So this is what I'm doing here. So I've done this. So on this side, I'm going to take 1.5, and on the folded part, I will be taking 1 inch. And on my under bust, from the folded part, I'll be taking 1 inch, and on that side I will be taking 1.5. So I will do the same thing to the waist or line, and I will connect them together. So I'm doing it on my waistline. So I want to connect them together. 1.5 to this 1 inches, which is my nipple to nipple measurement. So I'm connecting 1.5 to that line, and 1 inch I took at that side to this point, and I will do the same thing to the other part. And this is what I'm doing. Can you see? So that's just it. And I will mark the other side. So I'm marking the other side. So I will extend the line to the waistline. So I'm extending it to my waistline. So at the other parts, I will extend them to my waistline. So can you see what we have? So this is what we have. So make sure you create a small curve on that part so that we won't have our sharp edges. That's what I'm doing right here. So when I want to cut it, I'll just curve my hand. So this is what we have after cutting. So can you see the bust point, the half length, and the waist? These are half length, bust point, upper chest, and waist. So this is just it. The waist measurement I'll be working with is 32 inches. So I'm placing quarter of my waist measurement, which is 8 inches, on the waist area, and I'm marking it. So I'm adding sewing allowance. So from that point, I'm coming down 8 inches to get my hip points. 8 inches. So I place my 16 inches on the waist area to get accurate measurement for the full length. So I have 42 inches for my full length. So I'm adding 1.5 for the hemming allowance of both up and down. So that's it. So I'm placing my ruler on my hip area. So I want to rule the line, and I will do the same thing to the hemline. Alright guys, I want to find the quarter of my hip measurement. So I have 44 inches for my hip, divided by 4 is going to give me 11 inches, and I'm marking it. So I will mark the sewing allowance. So this is what I'm doing here, and I will extend it to the waist area. Alright guys, after this I'm going to move my measurement from the hip area to the down parts. So I'm doing this because I want to deduct some inches from the down parts. So I want to take away this 0.5 from the down parts. So I've taken it. So alright guys, I'm going to place my ruler and connect my waist to my hip, and from my hip to the down parts. So that's what I want to do now. I'm placing my cuff ruler. So I'm placing my cuff ruler. Let me use the down parts to connect together. So I'm turning into the hip area. So I'm going to mark it like so. I'm marking it. So I'm being careful because I want it to be straight. So that's just it. So I will connect together like so. Alright guys, I've connected it together. So this is what we have. I'm going to take my dart right here. So I have 4 inches for my dart, and I'm marking it. So the dart length is 4 inches, but I added 0.5 to it because I'm still folding the other side. So that 0.5 will serve as an allowance to it, so that I won't be short of that. So it will be accurate with the same length I want for my darts. So that's why I added it. So I'm connecting my dart to that 4.5 dot I made. So I'm going to take 0.5 from the both sides and connect it together, and I will do the same thing to the other side and to the back panel. So that is what I'm doing here. I'm going to connect the dart together. So I'm connecting it with my ruler and marker. So this is what I'm doing. So I'm going to cut right here. So I'm cutting it. I'm cutting the shape I made. So this is what we have. Alright guys, I'm placing the back panel of the remaining pattern to get the back panel. I'm placing the front panel on it. So this is my zip allowance, 2 inches. I mark 2 inches for my zip allowance. So I'll go ahead and create the shape like so. So I'm cutting it. Cutting the shape for the back panel. I placed front panel on back panel to bring out the shape. So this is what I'm doing right here. So I've cut it. So this is what I have. So this is just it. So this is our back panel and the zip allowance. Alright guys, I'm cutting on my fabric right here. So I placed the cutter of my waist measurement on my fabric. As you can see, I'm marking it, and I want to mark my hip point from the waist area. So I want to get the full length as I've done the other time. So I'm marking my full length right here. So that's my full length. So I'm marking it. So here I'm placing the cutter of my hip measurement. So I'll connect my hip measurement to my waist measurement right here. So what I got for my hip measurement, I'm moving it to the down part. So I will deduct 1.5 inches as I've said earlier. So can you see? So I'm connecting from my down part to the hip area. So can you see? So that's just it. I'm cutting right here. So I'm cutting it. So I want to cut the length. I'm cutting it right here. Alright guys, I'm placing the front panel on the back panel right here. So this is what I want to do. I'm placing it. So I'm placing it. So I've added the zipper allowance and I'm cutting right here. So this is what I'm doing. So I'll cut the down part. So I'm cutting the down parts. Alright guys, this is what we have. So I want to cut the zip allowance. So I'm cutting the zip allowance right here. So I'm cutting it into two. So this is what we have. So I'm placing the dart measurement as I've done the other time. I marked 4 inches. Can you see? So I'm going to notch that part. I'm notching it. So I'm measuring 4.5, like so. Alright guys, I've joined the upper part and down part of both front and back together right here. So I placed it on the cutting table for you to see. So this is it. So this is the sleeve I cut. So this is the sleeve I cut. I'm going to place it on the hammer like so. join together. So I'm sewing it right here. So I'm joining it with my machine. So this is it. I'm joining the shape I showed you. So can you see? So I'm joining the other part, the other side. So I'm joining it right here. So I'm joining it. So this is the sleeve. I made some gathers at the shoulder area. So this is the gather I made at the shoulder area for the sleeve. So I'm pulling the rope, I'm pulling it to my desired measurements. So I'm pulling the rope to my desired measurements. I want to bring the shoulder to my desired measurements. You know, I took 4 inches off when I was cutting. So this 4 inches will turn 8 now. So 4 times 2 will give us 8 inches. So my shoulder measurement should be 8 inches plus 1 inch sewing allowance. So it's going to be 9. So I'm going to place my tape measure and check it. Maybe it's accurate right here. So this 8 inches, I will pull it a bit. So I'm pulling it just a little to get 1 inch to it. So this is what I'm doing. So this is 9 inches. Alright guys, this is what we have at the end of it all on my Christmas dress part 1. So this is lovely, this is amazing, it's very beautiful, it's very lovely. So please like this video, share and subscribe to my channel if you are yet to. Thank you guys for your support. I love you all. Thank you. I love you all. Please tell a friend to tell a friend to like, share and subscribe. Bye.